Video editing in Photoshop CS6 just got a whole lot better. You can now do things like group video clips, apply transitions like fade, add and edit text and audio files, edit clip lengths, and even add motion to objects. In this lesson, you'll learn how to insert video and audio tracks, adjust video clip lengths, insert and animate your text, apply some fades, and adjust the speed of your clips as we put together a little movie about Paris. Start by creating a new file, File New. From the preset, choose Film and Video, and from the size, choose HD TV 1080 pixels with a 29.97 frames per second as the size, and click OK. Now, for our movie, before we add anything else to the scene, we want to add what I would call opening and closing credits. We can click Create Timeline Video first so we can start to see what's going on here. I'm just going to fill the selected layer 0 with the foreground color, which happens to be black, like so. And then we're going to grab our type tool and type in a little bit of text. Now before I start typing, let's change the font here. And you could use whatever font you want if you don't happen to have this one. We'll do something really, really huge. Let's make it even bigger. Let's go 550. And we'll do center aligned white type. Click in the middle and all caps. Boom. Oh, it went back to 24 points. So let me select that again and choose 550. Ooh, that's too big. Let's do 500. I'm going to scale that down because I want to make sure that it's inside my title safe area. Let's do 430. That should work. Like so. And as a matter of fact, let's put a little bit of extra space between the words. And we can drop in some kind of a flourish. And if we need to scale the font size down a little bit, we can. Sometimes I'll scale it and then I'll go back and make sure that the font is a whole number rather than a fraction, like so. Okay, so to create a shape, we'll choose our shape tools, choose Custom Shape Tool, and click the drop-down button up here to choose a shape. How about this fleur-de-lis? And we'll drag and drop it right here in the center. We can change the color of it, the color of the fill to white up here, and drag it into position with our left-right arrows. And then we could select both and nudge them over a little bit. That looks good. Okay, so these three things can be dropped into a folder, and we'll call this Opening Credits. Then let's duplicate that. You can drag and drop the whole folder onto the new button, and we can change this one and call it Closing Credits. And then on the Closing Credits layer, we can change the type from Montpellier, actually let's double click this, to fin. So it's the end of our video. And that shape, we could put it to the left. Maybe we'll do two of them, one to the left and one to the right. So I'm going to Alt or Option click, drag another one of those and have those evenly spaced at the end. So we have our opening credits and our closing credits, and those are on two separate layers on our timeline. To insert video into our timeline, go to the Layer menu, choose Video Layers, and then New Video Layer from File. Now we have 4 separate movie clips for Paris, and they're numbered in the order that they should go in. So we'll click the first one and then select Open. And to add additional layers, actually, let's do New Video Group from Clips so that we create a video group from that clip, and then we can actually put several clips within the same layer. Now, to add additional clips, we can either use this Film Strip button to add media, or I like using this plus button off to the side, so then I can go in and select all of my other movie clips one at a time, just in order, the way they are here in our folder. So now we have 4 movie clips. Each one, its length is represented by sort of the width of the clip shown here. If you want to adjust the position of multiple clips, just click and then shift click on each of them, and then you could drag them as a block to the side. And notice as I drag them to the side, the length of the whole video clip increased. So I have my opening credits before the beginning of the first clip, but I need my closing credits to appear to the right of the last movie clip. Again, as I dragged, the full length of the clip increased. You can adjust how your whole timeline looks in the timeline panel by increasing the mountain range, which adjusts your view of the clips. Now we can get a better representation of how long the clips are. If you like to work small, just click the mountain range to the left or use the slider. To add music to your video clip, let's scroll down to the bottom of the timeline. You'll see that there's automatically an area for you to add an audio track. You can click this button here to add audio, or again, you can click the plus button to the side. And we've created a sound file called Solar Flare, so you'll select that and drop that in. And you'll notice that it doesn't span the full width of my video. So I'm going to add it again. While you could compress the size of a sound file, you can't extend it past its original size. So in this instance, I will add one more version of Solar Flare, which is sort of like a looping sound file. And then I will cut it down to the length of the original video. The other thing that I could have done, and let's undo a step. We'll undo that add audio clip completely. The other thing I could do is I could move the closing credits, move it to the left a little bit so that it's in alignment with the right edge of my Solar Flare music. Let's move this over like that and then shift it. To see the work that you've done so far, you can scrub the playhead. This just gives you a preview of each of the clips on the scene, and at the end of the last clip, we have our closing credits. It would be nice if we could add a fade to the credits so that they fade out at the beginning and at the end. So in order to add the fades, we need to move the timeline indicator back to the beginning, and we'll work with the opening credits first. Expand that folder on your timeline, and if you need to, you can increase the size of this and shrink this area down or not, totally up to you. So now with the opening credits folder expanded, click the stopwatch next to opacity. This places a starting keyframe right here at the 00 marker. Now select the text and the shape layers on your layers panel. I'm just going to shift click to select them and set the opacity down to 0. Then move your timeline indicator to the end of the opening credits, right there. With those layers still selected, click on the diamond here to add another keyframe. Reselect those layers and move the opacity back to 100%. You should be able to scrub the playhead to see your animation take effect. Now in this case, it's actually making the black background also change. So we might need to drag that layer outside of the folder in order for the text only to fade in. Perfect. Which also means that we might want to do the same thing for our closing titles, which is to remove that layer. We can still use the other layer. Okay. Now we're going to repeat the same action for the closing credits. So now we're going to collapse the opening credits, open the closing credits, put the playhead at the start of the closing credits, and we'll need to expand that black layer 0 to expand the full width of our video so it will also appear on our closing credits. And that can be visible behind our video clips. Even though it's showing here, we won't see it because the video clips are actually layered on top. So scrolling back up on our closing credits, we're going to expand the layers panel. We can select all 3 of those layers there and click the opacity stopwatch to insert a keyframe. And then you're going to move the playhead to the very end. And with all 3 layers selected again, insert a keyframe to mark the change in the opacity of those selected layers. Reselect those layers and take the opacity down to 0. Then to see the animation, just scrub the playhead and you'll see how that ending fades to black. Now before we preview our movie, let's insert a fade in and a fade out to our opening and closing movie clips. We can start here at the end. like so, selecting that movie clip, and clicking on this button here. We can insert a fade, a crossfade, a fade with black, a fade with white, or even a fade with color. But before we select the one that we want, we need to set the duration. Choose 2 seconds, and you could certainly type that in if you wanted. And then we're going to drag and drop the fade with black onto the end of our selected movie clip. And if you scrub the playhead, you'll see that it should fade. And there's our end, which also fades. Let's go now to the beginning video clip and select it, like so. Clicking the fade button again, we'll leave it set to 2. This time we want to fade with black again, or we could just do a regular fade, and we'll drop that in right here at the beginning of our clip, which will make it look like this, fading in, like so. To preview your entire movie, you can click the playhead here, so now we can scale this down. We can even hide our guides and play. Now that last bit of music at the very end is totally unnecessary, so we can drag that out, and then with it selected, just hit your delete key. So now the sound is going to fade out nicely, the closing titles will fade out nicely, and you're good to go. Now you could save your file and export it or render the video if you like, or if you found that the whole thing lasted a little bit too long, and let's just click on our mountain range so we can see everything much easier, collapse everything out. Another thing that you could do is you could adjust the speed of the 4 video clips by selecting one rather, and then clicking this little button to the right. This will set the speed and the duration for each clip. So if you wanted to, you could like speed the clip up just by entering a new value into this dialog box or typing it in. So let's do 250 for our first clip, and then we'll do 200 for the second clip. And then for the next one, we'll make it a little bit less. Let's see, we might have to zoom in so we can see this. Let's do 150 for this guy, and then for the last one, we can do 125, like so. And then that means we can sort of adjust everything back. This would come here, this would come here, like so. Our solar flare sound file can come to the end like that. So now we've scrunched everything down, and actually on our final closing music, we can apply a fade out over a certain number of seconds, like so. Or we could even drop in a fade on top of it, like so. And then we can play our movie back, and you'll see that the whole thing runs much faster. When you're satisfied with everything, you can then export your movie through the File Export Video command and save your layered file and move on to the next project.